I was once in a camp in Tufshin and Gimel in Camp Shalom. It's a camp for Bachram that came from other places. They had an Ivy League Torah study program of kids who were college kids and who were becoming frum. They were on various stages of being Baalei Tshuva. And then the yeshiva for Baalei Tshuva, the first yeshiva in the world for Baalei Tshuva. We have some of the alumni, the early alumni right here before us. And what was there in the summer? This is Tufshin and Gimel, and everyone is talking about the fact that the Rebbe's Mashiach, that's the year that Koilei Ben David Ba. It's Mitzvah Shvius, no? Koilei Ben David Ba, there was people talking, everyone was singing Yechi and Lubavitch, and everyone's talking about it, everyone's asking about it. So someone comes over, there's a Rosh Hashiva, there's Rabbi Goldberg, and someone comes over to his son, I think he's a 6-year-old, maybe he's 4, he's very young. And again, he wasn't necessarily 100% excited about, he wasn't a full-fledged Lubavitcher, he was a boy that just came in. And he asked the little boy, he says, how could you say that the Rebbe's Mashiach, people saying the Rebbe's Mashiach, how can you say the Rebbe's Mashiach when we know that the Gemara says in the Yerushalmi, a whole story, a story in the Yerushalmi, that there was someone who came, and there was a little boy, that a person, that a Yid had a porah, he had an ox, a cow. And his cow mooed, Goas a porase pa'amechos, his cow mooed once, and this Arab understood, he had a sixth sense, the Arabs understood that your house, your temple, your Beis HaMikdash was charav. Goas ha'porasei pam shniya, and noilad Mashiach shel Yisrael. From this Gemara, and by the way, the boy's name is Menachem, and just to add a little something, the Rebbe explains in the Sichas that this boy Menachem was already potentially Mashiach. The Rebbe explains in the Sichas, I have the Makar here, where the Rebbe says that he was right to be Mashiach right away. I guess B'derech Nes. I think the Rebbe explains a little bit how, but he was right to be Mashiach right away. Ula Yashleimer, by the way, that the reason why you needed the little boy to be born then, it's a Chanes Mamash. Why does Hashem do Nes L'Magana? Ula Yashleimer, because we know that the Geula only comes after the Churban, and maybe at that point the Roy Elias Mashiach had to be a little child who was born after. But we needed a person who was Roy right away. Al Kapanim, the Rebbe learns Pshat that he Mamash was ready right away. Frek this boy to this bacher, asks this little boy, how can you say that it was Mashiach when the Gemara says Mashiach is born Tisha B'Av? So the little boy answered, the Rebbe was born 9 months after Tisha B'Av. So I walked away and I made a couple of cheshbonis. So the cheshbonis work out. Here's how it works. The emes is that Av is only 8 months before. Av is only 8 months before Nisan. But the year that I was born, Tafresh Samach Beis, look at your calendars. I looked it up. It was an Iber year, Shnasa Iber. So it's 9 months. You say, why is it not meduyik? It's not precise. And one thing you get from the Blavik and the Rebbe's Torah is that everything is meduyik l'hafli mamish to the millimeter. How is it that it's test? We know that the Churban was test. And how is it that it's Yud? How do we say that Yud Aleph? Why should it be Yud Aleph? However, the Gemara does say, in the Sicha in Tufshin, here's what the Rebbe says in the Sicha Tufshin Mem Tes, Shabbos Nachamu. I don't know, it's Ches, it's Tes, well through the Sicha. The Rebbe asks, how is it, the Rebbe says, it's a Dvar Pele, the Rebbe asks that in the Zman of Geula, in the year of Geula, we're told that there was the Churban. We know that Beis HaMikdash was burned, Heitzisu Eish, in the afternoon of Tes. And the Rebbe continues, and it was Nimshach till Yud. So the Rebbe asked the question, the moment after the Churban, the day after the Churban, Yud Aleph, it's a Pella, the Rebbe says, that it's a day of Antuchad V'lo B'Chushban. It's such a high darga. How does that darga come right the moment of the end of the Churban? And the Rebbe explains, he understands that the darga of Antuchad V'lo B'Chushban is the darga of Atzmus. The Rebbe explains, Yud Aleph Menachem Av is the darga of Atzmus that's higher than everything else, and therefore from Mitzad Atzmus and the Ava Atzmus of the Eibishter to a Yid, there never was a Churban. There never was a Churban, and from that perspective, a Yid is higher than any Golus. From that perspective, there's Nachamu Ami, there's a Nechama, and there's Geula. There wasn't even Golus. Look at the Sikha there. By the way, listen to this. In the Sikha where the Rebbe talks about Yud Aleph Menachem of being the Nachamu, and a very, very high darga right after the Churban. In the Ha'ara, the Rebbe says as follows. The Rebbe says, we know in two Ha'aras that Tisha B'Av is connected to Pesach. Memela, Yud Aleph Av is connected to Yud Aleph Nisan. And he makes the connection that in Yud Aleph Nisan there's a medrash about the one who brings the carbon, the Nasi, on Yud Aleph Nisan, that he brought the one who brought it on Yud Aleph, the Nasi Livnei Asher, brought it because Bachar HaKadosh Baruch Hu B'Yisrael. So the Rebbe says there's a connection right there between Av and Nisan, Tisha B'Av and Pesach, and Yud Aleph Av and Yud Aleph Nisan. What's what's it? I don't want to. I want to be respectful. Like, why did the Rebbe have to bring it? And the Nakud is l'chayra hayno hach. The Rebbe is saying that this is a day that's an inyan of Nachamu. In the year that the year before the Rebbe was born, Tisha B'Av was Thursday. Yud Aleph was Shabbos. Yud Aleph was Shabbos Nachamu. Kum Tachais, that's 9 months before Yud Aleph Nisan, the year the Rebbe was born, was an inyan of Nachamu. And in that Sikha, the Rebbe explains in the Sikha Tafshim Mem Tes, where he connects Yud Aleph Nisan with Yud Aleph Av, the Rebbe explains that Nachamu is the primary Nechama. We know there's 7 weeks of Nechama, Shiva de Nechemta, and the Rebbe says the primary Nechama is Nachamu. It's the Rosh to all Nechamas. And the Rebbe explains it's Antoch Chadvla B'Chushban. It's in the 5th month, which is Chamishis Lepari. It's Periyo Kol Nahoyrin, a darga, very, very high darga. Al Kopanim, you could see there the Rebbe is connecting Yud Aleph Nisan with Yud Aleph Av and Yeshloimar, that the Rebbe is saying that it's 9 months before. Kum Tachais, if that's the case, and take a look at the Sikha Yud Aleph Menachem Av Tavshim Mem Tes, where the Rebbe says that's Yud Aleph is very much connected to Nachamu. That means that the Ibur of the Rebbe begins in Nachamu, Shabbos Nachamu, and the Gemara calls the boy that's born on that day. So 2 things. Number 1, you see that the Rebbe is saying that the moment of after Geula is Yud Aleph. In other words, the Gasa Parasai B'Shleimus, the main Shleimus of the Gilui of Noilad Mashin Yisrael comes after the Shleimus of the Churban. And the next thing, and the other thing is that you see that this inyan of that the Rebbe is explaining of Nachamu. In other words, that Shabbos Nachamu is connected to Yud Aleph, which is 9 months before Yud Aleph Nisan. There is no one. So the boy born in the Gemara there, his name was Menachem. And Menachem is the name of Mashiach. Right after the Churban, the name of Mashiach is Menachem. And the Gemara brings a raya that his name is Menachem from the same pasuk that the Gemara brings a raya in Sanhedrin that his name is Menachem. And by the way, in both the Gemara Yerushalmi and in Bavli, in Sanhedrin, in both places, Menachem Mechizki Shmai. This little boy that was born 70 years before, that was born just at the time of the Churban, when the Gemara was being sealed, or when the Gemara was being darshan many years later, there was still a discussion about they still said that his name was Menachem and Chizkiah. So what's pshat in the Gemara that they say Menachem was born? The Rebbe explains that it's kipshutai. The Rebbe also brings that Mashiach is noilad b'Tisha B'Av, and the Rebbe brings a maimer of the Mittler Rebbe that says that every single year there's a new Hoylada of Tisha B'Av. And the Rebbe explains in the Sikha and Tavshin and Aleph that every single year on this day, every single year there's a Haysafa, the Rebbe explains that every single year there's a new Hoylada of the Inyan of, there's a new Hoylada of Mashiach. Das heißt, in other words, that the Rebbe is saying that both began. In other words, so there's a Ramban. The Ramban explains in a very famous Vikuach that when it says in this Gemara the Mashiach was born on Tisha B'Av, it means in the year of the Churban. It means it's Beruchnius. That means the Rebbe learns, however, it's Begashmius and Beruchnius. Mashiach was literally born on that day, the one who was potentially Mashiach in that time, and also Beruchnius. Every single year there's a new koyach on this special day, on the day of Tisha B'Av. So Al Kapanim, from all that we said, it's clear, it comes out, Al Kapanim, Yesh Loimar, that Yud Aleph Menachem Av is a very special day. And Yud Aleph Menachem Av is a day in which there is the inyan of Agila of Mashiach. Again, it's clear in the Sichos.